haven't had the best headspace to do this on my own, and that's another reason why she's here. Um, but to get things started, I guess for me, I'd already moved into an employee house free of rent and utilities in Ann Arbor on March 22nd. Before Haley moved in to her apartment on April 14th, she asked if I could help her by signing some documents on her behalf. When I inquired about what my involvement would be, since I wasn't going to be living there at this time, she wrote me a text explaining that the manager had told her, saying that I wasn't going to be held responsible for anything. It was all just a workaround to help her get into the apartment. With everything Haley has been through, I decided to sign the lease info because I did not want her to be homeless, and her staying at the employee house obviously wasn't an option. I never filled out an application with my info. All I got was an email of an e-signature file of the lease, and this made me believe what Haley said was to be true. So I signed the lease, not knowing I was signing to be a resident.
0. This is where the judge steps in hard. Haley starts explaining, but the judge interrupts to lock down the facts, benefits, age timelines. This isn't cold. It's surgical. The court needs clarity before sympathy. You can feel the tension rise as assumptions collapse and reality sets in. One question at a time, the judge strips the story down to what legally matters.
All right. And what do you folks, Haley, what do you want to tell me?
I also have a thing I can read. So, Your Honor, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I would like to explain my situation and how it led us here. I was approved for the lease based on a combination of my survivor benefits and Gavin's income. I was not in Ann Arbor yet because I was waiting to start a job here. I didn't start the job yet. He clarified on the phone that he wasn't going to move in at the time, but they still put him on. Yeah. And do.
I would explain this part right here.
And then the rent hasn't been paid because I don't have the survivor's benefits anymore. They canceled it in June. And then I was in
Haley, hold on, stop for a moment. What kind of survivor's benefits did you have?
I don't know exactly. It was just like SER.
Did you lose a parent?
Yeah, both of them.
And your siblings.
You lost both parents. Okay. And in June, did you turn 21?
No, 20. Or no, April I turned 20.
April, you turned 20. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was until I was 21, but I guess it's not.
Now we hear the truth that changes everything. Haley admits the benefits stopped, the rent stopped, and the system didn't wait. There's no deflection here, just quiet acceptance. This moment hits because it's not dramatic yelling, it's resignation. The court sees a young person drowning, not fighting, and that silence speaks louder than any argument ever could.
All right. Go ahead, ma'am. You want to tell me something?
I really do, Your Honor. I want to let her finish, but I also know she's very prideful. And this isn't a dispute, to be clear, about Gavin and Haley like against each other. But if I could read my portion, because I think you really do need to understand something incredibly crucial to the context of this. And then also some procedural errors that I have personally been involved with since June 19th that I think you want to be aware of. So I'm Andrea, I'm Gavin's mother. I've been helping Haley and Gavin navigate this situation. And I do want to clarify from the start, like Gavin did, that they're not dating and they haven't been in a relationship since April. I took on this role as a mentor and advocate to support Haley the past 2 years. I will get into that, and I know she feels uncomfortable with this, but even I'm frustrated and not sure how much more I have in my tank to help, and this young lady needs some help and guidance in this. 2 years ago, not only did she lose both her parents, she also lost her 3 baby siblings because her stepdad murdered everyone. It was a quadruple homicide. And I am mentioning this to you because though she was technically 18, and this is why I'm in her court, because this is all trickling down to today, and I'm not trying to just do the sympathy piece, but I need someone to understand this girl hasn't been guided. Because she was 18, she unfortunately, didn't have the assistance of anything else, but she was in that home and instantly became homeless because her home was a crime scene. And I didn't even know she was without a home already for 9 months at that point. Her and my son had been dating on and off. And once I discovered that, that's when I stepped in because she has literally no mother, no father. All of her siblings are gone except for her 2 younger surviving siblings. And this has been a lot. Now I'm gonna cry because she never cries. So I know she owes the rent. She knows she owes the rent. We're not disputing that. But in addition to that, I want you to know that's why my son helped in the way he did in signing this. And he truly, from what I'll show you in the evidence if you need, he did not know he was signing a lease. He simply thought, because he's very naive, and he also should probably tell you he is not a reader. And he thought he was helping her out truly. And they split up in April. So, and he lived in an employee house, and that just further reiterates that there were some procedural errors. And
This
that
is the
apartment
emotional earthquake. Gavin's mother steps in and drops devastating context. Loss, homelessness, violence, total lack of guidance. The courtroom energy flips instantly. This isn't about avoiding rent anymore. It's about survival after unimaginable trauma. You can hear the judge listening differently now. Sympathy doesn't erase debt, but it absolutely reshapes how justice gets delivered.
complex did not do their due diligence in ensuring that Gavin was not a resident. He never sat there, he never met with them, and my request is, not that the money isn't owed, but my request is, after you hear all of this that had happened, that not only that both Haley and Gavin's names are removed from the lease, and that, let me tell you the rest, thank you for being patient, by the way, that because of these personal losses, and what my son didn't tell you is the way he just lost his dad just 6 weeks ago was incredibly tragic. And so he's also got that currently going on. And she hasn't even begun to be able to process this grief because for 2 years, we've been working to get her some housing. We're in her apartment with no furniture at this moment. She's had nothing here this whole time. And we've been waiting for assistance by waiting for a court summons so she could get on her feet because she did have a job lined up. But now we're this far behind because nothing was served
Because they didn't.
until
Yeah.
the dates I have. I have a timeline laid out for you, by the way. If you do want it, we have it on Zoom. It has a lot of dates that I have all receipts of all my emails with them, never getting a return email, never getting any answers on the phone. Not only that, they withheld information from Gavin on September 3rd when James called my son back, because that's also the day they filed this court summons, and no one ever told my son that. And then the very last thing I want to say is that our request is not to not have the amount owed, although I do wish we had some way to work around some of this, but to have them both removed from the lease because it's demonstrated, and she had just moved in. He's never been in here. That this young lady's not going to be able to pay. And I don't want this affecting her for the rest of her life when she's already so upside down and has had no guidance other than myself with this. And that's the facts. And unfortunately, without burdening you with my problems, my life turned upside down and I am in absolutely no position to help like I otherwise would. And if that was the case, neither of them would be here today if I could help, but I can't. And so I'm hoping that sums everything up because I kind of went off script. And then if you want anything else, we have a lot of information for you, but I wanted you to know with the context with her because she's not going to share that with you on her own.
Here's where emotion meets procedure. She challenges the apartment complex, calling out failures, missteps, and lack of due diligence. This isn't chaos. It's structured frustration. She's not denying responsibility. She's asking for mercy with logic behind it. The court now has to weigh rules against reality, and that balance is the hardest thing any judge ever has to do.
Okay, Haley. So Haley, let me ask you this. as I sort of synthesize this whole thing, where are you going to be able to move someplace, or you just don't have anywhere to go?
Um,
All right,
so
young lady, let me tell you something. Okay. Um, because I heard Gavin's mom say you have a lot of pride, right? Okay. Is that right?
sure.
Okay, so listen, here's what you got to do. I'm just sort of a plain talking guy, okay?
Mhm.
And so sometimes to try to work some of these things out, um, you got to kind of set aside your pride, okay? Sometimes, and you know, sometimes things don't work out, but sometimes things do work out, but they can only work out if there are people in a position maybe that can help. Can't do everything, but you got to kind of know what's going on with you, okay? So if it's going to be a circumstance where you're going to be homeless, you got to tell me that.
Um, not maybe for a minute.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, honey, it's okay.
Haley, talk to me. All right.
Well, I just, I would rather just not have to keep going through with this, like the rent
Okay.
until April.
All
So
right.
I could find somewhere, because
Okay.
like
Now hold.
I have to do it all
The
on my
judge
own.
takes control and slows everything down. No ruling yet, just direct human questions. Where will you go? Are you safe? This is rare courtroom humanity. You're watching a judge stop being a referee and start being a protector of outcomes. The law pauses here, just long enough to make sure it doesn't permanently crush someone already broken. Part 8.
Let me just tell you, you're talking to somebody who um, losing parents is hard, right? We know it's going to happen. At least if things happen in the orderly way, that's going to happen. But we never expect it. Okay. So just I usually don't share things about myself, but so that you can understand that at least to a certain extent, I can kind of understand the uncertainty of where you guys are.
Mhm.
All right. Understand, I
Mhm.
lost my dad when I was 16. So I can particularly appreciate, Gavin, when you say you're not in a good headspace. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, Haley, yeah, I I can't even wrap my head around that. Okay. But the one thing I can tell you both, um, life doesn't end. You find a way to make it through. Haley, for you, sometimes when I'm telling you to set aside your pride, sometimes you got to set aside your pride. Sometimes you're just not that strong, and it's okay. Okay. Because somewhere out there, while the world doesn't seem like it's a great place, sometimes I believe in the goodness of people. And so sometimes when you let that down and people can see it and you just sort of lay it bare, um, I got to believe, and I just do believe that there are people around that kind of help you out. Okay. And you just can't, you know, Haley, you don't have any reason to have any faith in humanity. You just don't. And I'm not going to try to tell you that you do. All right. But slowly but surely, maybe you'll begin to see it. Okay. It'll come back at some point. Okay. But more importantly, you got to give yourself space and time to heal. and time to move on, and there's no recipe for it. And you're going to come across a lot of these bumps. And what I don't want you, it's one thing to give up on an apartment. It's a whole other thing to just give up on life. And the latter of that, I don't want to see.
This moment is unforgettable. The judge speaks about pride, grief, and survival not as authority, but as someone who's been there. It's not a lecture, it's guidance. The courtroom goes quiet because this isn't legal advice. It's life advice. You can feel how heavy this lands, especially on someone who's learned to survive alone instead of asking for help.
What I'm going to do, really. I'm going. Ms. Dornbush, I'm going to adjourn this out to October 4th, 2024 over plaintiff's objection. What time?
12 p.m.
At 12 p.m. Okay,
Sir, could I say one thing though? I'm sorry.
go ahead.
My dad's service is on the 5th, and they live down by Flint, and I was planning on being there for the 4th and the 5th. So I don't
Okay.
know. We could reschedule
Well,
a different day.
well, I'm going to leave it to the 4th because I think things have to get resolved for the plaintiff. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it that date. If you're not here, I certainly understand that, and we'll work around that some way, but you're not in the apartment in any event, so
Yeah.
that may not be an issue. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Ms. Dornbush, I'm going to ask you a favor of you, if you don't mind. If I ask Haley to wait till the end of the proceeding, do you mind if I have a private communication with her and Gavin's mom regarding the circumstances in this case? I would never, of course, do anything detrimental to your client in that conversation, but just trying to figure out what we can do with this so some folks can land softly. You're muted.
Sorry, Judge, I was verifying those other payments, and I'm not entirely sure what to say, because obviously the news, the information
Yeah,
that's been shared here today is frankly devastating. So,
Now reality hits again. Haley admits she has somewhere temporary to go, but nothing permanent. This matters legally. The judge confirms she won't be homeless tonight, and that single fact changes the court's options. It's a fragile lifeline, but it's enough. The decision ahead won't erase pain, but it might prevent long-term damage.
at the same time, I do have a job to do, and I have to advocate for my client, and I know the court recognizes that. I would say that if during that discussion information comes to light that would otherwise affect my client's legal rights, that information needs to be shared with me. Because
absolutely.
I do have an ethical duty to my client, but at the same time, I understand the circumstances and frankly, you know, what Miss Salisbury's been dealing with. I have no way to understand that. But I know that there's information that the court would like to hear that she would like to share. And I understand the need to do that privately. So, you know, if something comes up that is going to affect my client's legal rights, I have to request that information be shared with me, whether it's in a written statement or if it's something that the court discloses. And
And
that's
Ms.
all I can
Dornbush,
say.
Ms. Dornbush, I would give you my word that if that were the case, and I would also apprise her that I would have to share that with you, so there wouldn't be any surprise on anybody's part. But I have a feeling there's something. Yeah, so if you don't mind, I think I will do that, and let's see where we can go and try to get this resolved, hopefully next week. with this, but I think there's something that has to happen in the interim. Okay. So I'll adjourn it out a week. Haley, wait on the line. You and Gavin's mom are gonna go into a private breakout with me as soon as I get finished with these few cases that I got here, okay?
And here's the ruling. The judge adjourns the case, buys time, and orders a private discussion off the record. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Justice isn't rushed, it's measured. The court chooses resolution over destruction, and that's rare to see. If this breakdown helped you understand how real courtrooms actually work, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.